Welcome to Spec Life TV. Today I will be narrating about an apocalypse movie titled 2012. In the year 2009, an American geologist named Adrian visits astrophysicist Dr. Satnam at a copper mine in the heart of India. The copper mine is about 11,000 feet down below the Earth's surface. On getting to the lab underground beneath, while running some checks on the monitoring devices, they discovered that neutrinos from a massive solar flare are causing the temperature of the Earth's core to increase tremendously. He left the copper mining site and arrived at a black tie party in Washington, D.C. Dr. Adrian handed over a document to Mr. Carl, the White House Chief of Staff. The document states the Earth core situation which will wipe out the whole Earth. Mr. Carl now took Adrian to meet Mr. President Thomas. In the year 2010, U.S. President Thomas and other nation leaders started a top-secret project to ensure their safety when the apocalypse begins. Over 400,000 influential people were selected round the world to board the gigantic spaceship called ARX, constructed at Choming, Tibet, in the southwest part of Chinese Himalayas. A Buddhist monk named Nima was carried away while his brother Tenzin joins the top-secret ARC spaceship they were building. Furthermore, funds are being raised by selling tickets for €1 billion per person to influential people across the globe. By 2011, valuable items and were moved into the ARCs with the help of art expert and President Thomas' daughter, Dr. Laura. In the year 2012, Jackson Curtis is a science fiction writer in Los Angeles who works as a driver for Russian billionaire Yuri. Jackson's former wife, Kate, and their children Noah and Lily live with Kate's boyfriend, Gordon, a plastic surgeon. Jackson takes Noah and Lily for camping at Yellowstone National Park. They notice the park have being sealed by the military that nobody should go in there, but they cross over the fence and other to get into the park. They decided to check out the lake in the park, but unfortunately the water in lake have dried up, but the remaining portion of water was boiling. The U.S. Army immediately arrived the scene and captured Jackson, and his children carried them to the research base. On arriving the base with the Army, he saw Dr. Adrian, who recognizes Jackson after he published his recent book, Farewell Atlantis. They both exchange pleasantries. Afterwards they were released from military custody. Returning back to their camp tent, they meet Charlie on their way, who have been researching about the end of days, the apocalypse and biblical prophecies, and knew what the government and its officials are planning, building a top-secret spaceship ARC for themselves, and refuse to tell the world about the disaster to befall mankind. Charlie hosts a radio show from the park and tried to pass the message to the people through the radio indirectly by criticizing the government and telling people about the apocalypse. Later that night, after the military evacuates from Yellowstone because the disaster will begin in 3 days' time, Jackson watches Charlie's video of Charles' theory that polar shifts and the Mesoamerican long count calendar predict that the 2012 phenomenon will occur. Charlie also tells Jackson that those who discovered this and try to reveal this secret to people were killed in various accidents. One of the scientists that was killed gave Charlie a map where the ARC is being built, but Jackson never believes any of his stories and left him. The next day, an earthquake hits Los Angeles, which affected the grocery store where Gordon and Kate were shopping. Jack quickly returned the children to Kate, his ex-wife. This incident makes Jackson to start believing what Charlie told him. The Russian billionaire Yuri, who paid for the spaceship tickets for himself and for his children, received message from the government to register and start the boarding process. Jackson drove Yuri's twin sons Alec and Oleg to the airport, where one of the twins told him that he is going to die where they are going to fly on a spaceship. This time Jackson realized that this no longer a fairy tale, which he quickly rents a Cessna 340 airplane with his wristwatch and other to rescue his family when the apocalypse begins. He quickly drove home to pick his family and Gordon. On their way back to the airport, buildings and structures in the city were collapsing as the earth crust displaces. On getting to the airport, they discovered the pilot was dead, but Gordon had a little knowledge of flying an airplane. But he later flew the airplane as the earth crust displacement begins with a magnitude 10.9 earthquake, and they narrowly escape Los Angeles as California collapses into the Pacific Ocean. As millions of people die in earthquakes worldwide, the group flies to Yellowstone to retrieve a map from Charlie, escaping as the Yellowstone caldera erupts. Charlie stays behind to broadcast the eruption, and he was killed by the volcanic explosion. Jackson quickly retrieved the map from Charlie's compartment and ran quickly to catch up with airplane, which was already on the runway speeding to take off because Yellowstone volcano eruption and earthquake was so disastrous. But Jackson made it into the speeding airplane before it flew off the ground. Learning that the Arks are in China, the group lands in Las Vegas to find a larger airplane. They saw Yuri, his twin sons, and his girlfriend Tamara and his pilot Sasha. Adrian, Carl, and Laura are aboard an Air Force One where they are heading to the Arks in China. President Thomas remains in Washington, D.C. to address the nation one last time and refused to join them on Air Force One. With the vice president dead and the Speaker of the House missing, Carl appoints himself as the acting commander-in-chief even though he is not in the presidential line of succession. Back in Las Vegas, Yuri owns an Antonov An-500 cargo aircraft. With the help of Gordon and Sasha, both flew the aircraft, escaping disaster and collapsing structures, and they departed for China as the Yellowstone ash cloud engulfs the city. President Thomas was later killed by a mega tsunami. When the group arrive in China, the plane runs out of fuel and the cargo airplane was about to crash land. They quickly escape from the airplane using one of the Bentley car owned by Yuri, and the plane crashes in the mountains, killing Sasha, while the others escape the incident. They saw a Chinese military helicopter carrying animals to construction site of the Ark, and one of the helicopters saw them and landed. They requested for the Ark boarding pass tickets. Only Yuri and his sons have the tickets, and they were taken to the Ark base, leaving the Curtis family and Gordon behind along with Tamara because Yuri knows she had an affair with Sasha. The remaining group start navigating their way on the mountain looking for path on the mountain. Luckily, they are picked up by Nima and taken to the Arks with his grandparents. Back inside the Ark, Adrian and Carl argued if to allow the Ark workers and some of the passengers to board into the because the tsunami will hit the Ark in 28 minutes time. Nima and Jackson group sneaked into the Ark through one of the secret gear room in the Ark where Tenzin was working. Tenzin helped them in. Inside the Ark, the European Union voted for the door to be opened for the people outside, like wise Chinese and Japanese also supported the motion, and the captain gave order for the Ark door to be opened, and the people outside ran into the Ark. Yuri was killed and the Ark door couldn't shut because Tenzin cloth and rope lodged in the gears of the Ark's hydraulic doors control, preventing the boarding gate from closing, which in turn prevents the ship from starting its engines. In the midst of all this chaos, Gordon and Tamara are killed. Few minutes the tsunami made an impact to the Ark, which flooded some part inside the Ark with water, and Ark set adrift heading towards Mountain Everest for collision, and the entrance gate needed to be closed before the Ark engine can start another to avoid collision with the mountain. Meanwhile, at the chamber beneath which was flooded, Jackson and Noah dive into the gear dislodge area and Noah assisted him. They both worked together to remove the cloth stuck in between the gears and drivers. The entrance door closed, the engine started as the crew regains control of the Ark before it made a minor impact with Mount Everest. There were jubilation in the Ark and Jackson rejoins with his family. Him and Kate reconcile. As floodwaters from the tsunami slowly decrease, the Arks travel to the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, where the Drakensberg mountain range has now emerged. Dr. Adrian starts a relationship with Laura while Jackson and Kate rekindle the love and passion they have for each other.